Welcome to the Mistress of Change podcast for women devoted to living your highest life and purpose in the world. These conversations are about activating your personal power to ignite your unique genius, your quintessential style, and your potential for greatness, vitality, and abundance. Do stay tuned till the end to find the resources and the gifts we have for you, and make sure you take action on the world-class advice. And now, enjoy the podcast. Welcome to this episode of Mistress of Change, brought to you by the House of Preeminence and Preeminence Rising platform. What we're talking about at the moment is visionary women. Now, a few years ago, a visionary woman would be somebody who was really pioneering, who was, dreaming of building an airplane to cross an Atlantic or inventing a new vaccine or something like that, whereby we now find ourselves living in a time where all women have absolutely stepped into their vision, their own visionary woman, because we are all feeling the need to make this impact and to be the difference in the world. So you, my lovely ladies, all listening, you are in for a treat today, because one of the things that I know to be true from my platform, from my audience, from the people that I serve, is that women think that it is a big, hairy deal to make that when they've got a big project, they've got a big vision, that it is going to be something that's going to take years, that it is going to be complicated, and we're going to turn that on its head today through my guest, who is a true visionary woman, absolutely, totally in the middle of the soft middle of the beautiful paradigm shift of wealth. So without further ado, welcome my gorgeous, all the way from Australia, Anna Feldman.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And what an amazing episode and topic to be talking about today, of all of the times that I could be coming in and hanging out with you, Jenny, to be speaking into visionary women and the potentiality that is with us now at this time in history. It's so exciting, and I'm honored to be here.
I couldn't think of, but you just popped into my head when I thought, who do I want to talk to? Who do I want to bring to my audience for this edition, for this episode? It was you. You've been involved in this whole shift towards expanding your own vision. Were you always really heart-centered, mission-led? Did you always have a big vision, Anna, or is this something that has happened in the last few years?
It's such a great question. As you were introducing the topic, I was literally feeling into how deep and how far this goes for me, and where was it birthed. And I think that, for me personally, and for anyone that feels like they've been tapped on the shoulder by the same spirit, it's like we've been coded for greatness. We've been coded to play our part in something big, but we don't quite know how we're going to achieve it. It feels bigger than us, and it's true. It absolutely is. I think what I can sort of look back and go, what are the concrete kind of pieces of the puzzle that make sense to me today? It's that I've always been on that path of personal development. And I think that most visionary women have gone on a journey that's got them to where they are today, that has to do with self-awareness, consciousness, expansion, really understanding ourselves better, whatever courses, programs, lineages, spiritual teachings you've practiced. I believe that it's cracked us wide open to be ripe for this moment in time. I think now is the time where we go, like women with vision and that want and yearn to play a part in a visionary conversation, have got to a place where we have digested and transmuted and harvested all of the lessons, the juicy lessons that make up who we are and why we're here. And now it feels like go time. And it's not necessarily clear, and it's not necessarily simple or easy, and the roadmap isn't there because it's visionary. And when you gave the example of, you know, building the plane, I would had that moment of building the plane while we're flying the plane. And that's what it feels like to be in the conversation of a visionary woman. As you mentioned, my sweet spot at the moment has to do with the prosperity, the abundance, the wealth consciousness conversation, but that's not where I've always been. Personally, I'm somebody that feels more comfortable in the feminine empowerment conversation, particularly around women and visibility. I myself have not necessarily overcome, but I've been working with my own lessons, say teachers, around my own visibility and stepping into my own personal power, particularly stepping into the online space. So I was diagnosed in my early 20s with vitiligo, which is an autoimmune condition which is quite disfiguring to the skin, and it created lots and lots of pigmentation all over from head to toe. And it was a confusing time for me as a woman stepping into my power, figuring out my own medicine and what I'm here to bring to the world. And there came the social media space where women who were wanting to step into business as a context for self-realization became a very interesting space for me, because I could see clearly through my own experience the way that we hide ourselves and can shame ourselves and compare ourselves to other women on this journey towards making a difference, playing our role, you know, self-actualizing in a sense. So that led to business, and business, of course, leads to a conversation around prosperity. And that then took me to a place of deeper study, in a sense, study of myself and the space that we're in of women in entrepreneurship. And what is it that we're deeply yearning for? And what are the possibilities for us beyond the framework of creating prosperity that we've been given? Okay. And so my exploration has attracted a new paradigm, a new brave way of exploring not only how can we bring our gifts to the world, but how can we step into what we yearn for. Many of us yearn for is to be the humanitarians, the new humanitarians of our times, because we know that women with wealth can change and will change the world.
So many things in there. I definitely recognize and meet you in that space about, I don't know, between about 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, when the worlds of personal development and the worlds of money and you know and having prosperity really collided, and they did become a tiny bit of a cliche for a while, as everybody was talking about, you know, the living the dream and living the dream life, and it became associated with substantial material gain, whereas now in this new shift, and I love also that you said that we are still building the plane, that we are building the visionary plane as we go forward, to acknowledge that for women, I think a lot of men too, but mostly because there are so many women becoming entrepreneurs, that material fulfillment is no longer a goal in itself. Yeah. It's almost a consequence of the other work. Would you agree, Anna?
Oh, definitely. We're driven by something so much more exciting. You know, it's like, okay, I mean, having things is nice, isn't it? Having a beautiful life, luxurious life, you know, it's basically like saying putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, once our needs are met, women who are deeply spiritual and moved by something so much greater than themselves, especially at this time in history where we're being called to step into our power, find our voices, make a difference. We can't rely on the structures that we've been depending on or we've had faith in up until now. We know I feel the paradigm shift has been more towards collaborating with like-minded people to make the change happen in a way that is aligned and quick and, you know, dynamic. And I feel that, yeah, no, certainly I just feel like we are driven by something that has to do with impact at the highest level. And so we're getting curious about ways that we can transcend, you know, the timeline that we've been accustomed to fast track all of that in the time that we have left on Earth. And that's exciting because we have to look at different pathways that we've never looked at before. And funnily enough, they are appearing as we're speaking our yearnings into existence. And I think that's the key for visionaries is we don't have the pathway. It hasn't been forged for us. So we're speaking it into existence and we don't see it yet, but we feel it and we sense it. And so we're starting to pull it towards us, magnetize it towards us, and the resources, the people, the opportunities, the systems, the structures are appearing as we need it to provide the resources that we can then utilize wisely to support the biggest mission that we have ahead. Yeah.
Well, I know that I'm probably not the only one who just got goosebumps right now, but and we will get tangible and concrete about what we're talking about. But you're so right. You mentioned it a few minutes ago about how you attracted this new way because you'd asked for it. You know, your heart, your soul, all of you was asking for it, and this is like a collective asking. Yes. For. Is this a collective request? Yes.
That's it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So it's a collective request that a person senses deeply into and has released the shackles of shame and guilt and what we're supposed to be and what the good girl does in order to get what she wants and needs. You know, this all has to melt away in order to call in something that is already in the matrix, but we haven't had access to it yet. So I love that you use the word collective, because I know that when I started sensing into this new paradigm for generational wealth and abundance that was for a greater purpose, that I was tapping into it on behalf of millions and millions of people. And I didn't have evidence of it because we weren't talking about it in that language yet, but that's what visionaries do, isn't it? We sort of sense into and we see through the mind's eye first, and then they shall come. And it's just exactly how it's happened.
So this for me is one of the most exciting parts, because I'm a quantum geek.
And I love the language that you bring, because we're speaking the same language, but maybe using different terminology.
And also it kind of throws it wide open for anybody who does have a little bit of familiarity with this language and with the world of energy and manifestation and creation. That this is such a big thing happening, such a big paradigm shift. And I'd just like to you twig something, is that this has a higher vibration. This is the highest vibration that I've encountered yet so far in this whole merging and melding of fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment, and prosperity, and and living our best lives. That this is a whole new level, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a beautiful thing when you can sense the will of the divine that is pushing something into existence because it's time, you know, an idea who's found its time. And that's what it feels like. And that's what you're describing, is a will that is greater than our own. And that requires so much faith, so much surrender, a dismantling of ego and timelines. And this is it. This is the evolutionary, visionary conversation of women, particularly in this space, who are just completely and openly surrendered to a new paradigm. So we're not hanging on to old structures of how things have been done up until now. That's quite a masculine way of looking at, you know, how we're going to get the job done, create, you know, let's just say generational wealth, enormous wealth amongst women to be able to do the great work in the world, our own great work, but also the work that is being called, we're being called into. We need, and we've been seeking, and we've been yearning for a way that is no longer of the old structure, which tends to have an energy of exhaustion and overwhelm and hardship and intensity and burnout. And we've been doing it for millennia, not years, but millennia. So what we're yearning for, that feels new and different and evolutionary and visionary, is collaborative, it's light, it's instant, it's igniting, it's energizing, and it's non-depleting. It's the opposite of what would burn us out. It's self-fulfilling. It's kind of almost magical as it gets shared, and as it unfolds, and as it sparks others and continues to spark others, it gets lighter and lighter. And imagine that energy is what actually creates this. First of all, the gas, the oxygen mask on ourselves, which is, there's nothing wrong. It's unapologetic. We absolutely want to be able to travel the world, go on beautiful retreats, dive deeper into our spiritual lives, and evolve in the ways that we've, you know, in a tangible, concrete way in the human body, but in a spiritual sense. And then we kind of, with a full cup that is overflowing and well nourished, we want and yearn to go out in the world and make an impact. And we want to do that with the essence that I've just mentioned, that feels very light and energizing, and not, oh my God, what do I need to do? What do I need to create? How much more can I take on? That's no longer that visionary, evolutionary pathway that's going to work for a visionary woman that is absolutely unapologetic. I keep seeing the visual of, you know, the shackles are off. We've literally like gone, no more. I refuse to do it that way. There's got to be another way. And even if I don't know it, I'm sensing it, I'm calling it in, I'm connecting with women that are evolving and courageous, brave enough to be able to speak that new way, in a sense, that new paradigm into existence.
Absolutely. And of course, we're not just having a conversation about this and idealizing. This is actually happening. So it's happening. And yes. I should imagine that as I am finding, as I share what we're doing in the Ripple Wealth Project around me, that the first thing that comes up is some kind of block, whereby, how can this be possible? Everything that you've just described, the magic, the ease, I don't have to hustle anymore, the possibility of having my beautiful lifestyle and making a difference. And the first thing that will come is like, because we're so programmed with this, as you said, over millennia, this is the way we do it. That the old, you know, masculine linear logic, trying to get there, striving, using force, all of that. Yes. So what do you say to women that you encounter when you feel that resistance come up?
Well, acknowledging it first and giving it oxygen, because it's coming from somewhere valid. You know, when we have those blocks come up, we only have to look at our history to go, well, we've been burnt, you know, we've been betrayed, you know, things haven't worked out, we've risked ourselves, our reputation, our energy, our money, and things haven't come to fruition, and things are not what they seem, and there are all kinds of charlatans and things out there to be so incredibly discerning about. And so I validate that. So if a woman comes to me with that, I want to really give it space and oxygen. Tell me more. Tell me more about that resistance. Tell me more about that experience, because you're not going to get anywhere with women, intelligent, sophisticated, open-hearted, purpose-driven, mission-driven women, by shutting that down, by spiritually bypassing all of that stuff. And I think it's really important to see and check in and sense, is she open to a different narrative? Is she open to that? And I think if there is an opening for that magic, for that something new to come in, then we have the space to have that conversation, because there is something, as you know, Jenni, there is something that we've found. And what I love about this project and this partnership is so much, but probably what I love the most is how challenging, I know this is going to sound radical, but how challenging it has been, and it is still birthing it into the world fully in all of its glory. Like, we are inside the chrysalis, right? And we're still doing this, like we're still just like cracking our way out. And I just see your butterfly wings, and I'm just seeing this beautiful you know, this conversation is just so beautiful, because if we didn't have these challenges that can feel brutal, I mean, you know, the story of the chrysalis, if you crack it open on behalf of the butterfly will die. If it doesn't have the experience of, you know, pushing out and like, you know, like releasing all of that, you know, liquid from its wings, it can't fly. So I honor and deeply appreciate the visionary and the leader and the humanitarian that the process is birthing through me, and who I'm becoming, not the outcome, not the end product, not the cash, not the, you know, it's not just about, this is the whole key, that it's the money is, as you said, like a side effect, the prosperity, and it's bigger than prosperity. It's generational wealth. It's a new paradigm. It's new wealth. It's done in it. It's a completely different vibrational frequency. It comes with work. It's like working for it feels so, the things that we're cultivating within us to become worthy of that is the journey in itself that's so rewarding. So I guess, again, a little bit cryptic, we're really connecting with women, like-minded women, people, humans, families all over the world that want to be a part of that evolutionary story, that are not just wanting something like a quick fix or just to kind of receive, gimme, gimme, gimme. It doesn't have that energy. It's a co-creative energy. And so partnering with the right people, with the right project, with the legacy component of it is so important, because our time is valuable, our hearts, our energy, our attention is our most precious resource. And so we don't just give that away easily. So due diligence and really sitting with ourselves and one another and what we have at the center of it here in our hearts is a necessary part of the process of being a co-creator of this new journey that we're on together.
I love that, this new aspect of the members of this project being co-creators with it. In other words, the more that we uphold it, and we all call it into being with our commitment and our financial commitment, as well as our time commitment, then that
and our thoughts and our heart and our actions, every word that comes out of our mouth, we have to be so conscious of what we're creating, discreating, empowering, disempowering. We are so powerful right now in this context. We are co-creating it every step of the way. And I don't know that we all appreciate just how important every single one of us are in that story.
You're absolutely right, because I even found myself talking to friends and family, and exploring a new vocabulary, so that you so that I can push other people's possibilities out of the way when they mention, when they mention Google searches and risk and this and that, is actually using a vocabulary, a new vocabulary that we are just becoming familiar with, to continue this adventure, because this is an adventure, isn't it?
It is. It is. I love that. And I love that it involves people, because people are challenging and confronting, and a lot of our fears and our anxiety and our sense of who we are and our confidence and how we define ourselves and identify in the world has to do with how people, what they reflect back to us. And there's nothing more triggering than money and prosperity and generational wealth and platforms and finding new paradigms that's going to press buttons. And so it's so beautiful. The adventure is so colorful in the sense that we have a huge responsibility on us as visionaries of this conversation to find not only language, as you say, to bridge the gap between where people are and the possibilities of what is right out there, what's ahead for all of us, as well as energetically holding the space and not being attached. And I think that is just such a delicate conversation that involves, again, courage and the ability. Humbleness comes to mind. There's such humility, humbleness in that needs to come in one's approach and embodiment. It's not a fake humbleness, but genuine humbleness to come to somebody to open up possibilities in this space is such a beautiful cultivation of leadership that is needed for the big work. It's interesting how we'll need that, when we have the resources that we need to really make massive impact out there in communities and globally in the places that we're really passionate and lit up about. And that's what makes this so extraordinary, is that people are coming together with passions from all places of, charity and work in the world that is calling us. But we really all have that one yearning in common, which is the yearning for wealth creation, to be able to activate this. And I think that humbleness is going to really, deepening into that, as well as the language and the space holding, is going to really serve us when we are in those places of decision making and resource allocation and being at the sort of leadership leading edge of this conversation. So it's all beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful dance. And I love the way you also see it and perceive it as, this adventure. What a wonderful way to approach something that has up until now been fraught with so much anxiety and discomfort and opinion and judgment that's overt, but also, sits underneath the surface.
Which is why the founders of this project just just shine the light on their own vision and passion for breaking down the old paradigms that we've been just shackled by, as you use the word in the beginning, shackled by for such a long time, you know, notably financial institutions, which have kept this separation between, you know, in society and culturally and as you said, generational. Maybe you could just share with us what generational wealth is, so we can start to kind of get tangible about this.
Yeah, definitely. So it's very, very simple. It's wealth that is not just for us in this lifetime to consume with all the beautiful material, you know, kind of goodness that we can possibly handle. It's actually wealth that we can pass on to our children and our children's children, not even in the sense of just inheritance, but the wealthy of the world, you know, like they say, the top 1%, they create wealth, and this is my understanding and my very simple language of it. They've created wealth, kind of like creating a financial fortress around their family for generations to come by creating structures around their wealth, where their prosperity, think of wealth as another entity, another family member in a sense, right? It's part of the family, and a positive, loving energy as well, just so that we can bring that, you know, feeling of love and goodness into this concept of wealth, is actually self-generating. So it's not trading time for money, but actually the money itself, this energy, this entity actually goes out and creates more of itself by being out there in the world doing what it's aligned to do, what it's supposed to be out there doing. And so this is a beautiful way that creates more and more abundance, in fact, through the generations, with the intentionality of serving. It's in service to, and it's in service for the greater good of the whole.
And the other huge aspect of that is the philanthropic aspect of spreading the wealth into cultures, communities, countries, continents, even that couldn't even imagine the standard of living that we have, because it's there's such a dichotomy, such separation. So we're also talking about redressing, probably not in our generation, but the next one, hopefully. Well, we're going to do our best. Is redressing that disparity through this mechanism. So just in the simplest terms, what we're talking about, in your own words, what in your own words, Anna, what is the mechanism whereby women who are really sympathetic to this conversation, to what we've been talking about, excited by it, want to understand how it is possible to open themselves, their own lives, their generations, and their own big projects to this flow that is possible, flow of wealth that is possible, at the same time as really being on track with their big visions. So could you just give us a kind of what this is, the mechanism?
What this is in like the details of the project, or how we actually make this happen? Because one of the most important things that we need to start doing is we need to start talking about this everywhere, all the time, and becoming almost obsessed about this conversation, because it is the catalyst to all other, I feel like all other areas of our lives working harmoniously in with each other. So this concept of prosperity, generational wealth, a new financial paradigm. We need to be engaged with it more often, more regularly with one another, asking questions, robust questions. I mean, obviously, Jenni, you know, we have got something so exciting and so powerful and world-changing at our fingertips. And so anyone that is ready for this conversation is going to reach out to us, and they're going, they won't be able to sleep at night. It is going to be that alive for them. This is such a huge yes that, you know, that's all we need is to attract those that are beyond ready. It's like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been calling in. Well, we need to link arms today. And then from there, we need to continue to speak this into existence. And one of the visuals that I had as you were speaking is, it's so important that we take this to our First Nations women and people all over the world. It is so vital that the philanthropic nature of what we're speaking into is at the grassroots level, because it can be, and it's the only way that it's going to infiltrate the communities that it needs to, in a truly holistic, empowering way that doesn't set to create more division with good intention, you know. So we really need to look at a new way of empowering our First Nations, Indigenous people all over the world to be able to harness this conversation and harness these possibilities. And again, that humility, that vision, that spaciousness, and I feel like the evolutionary and visionary spirit that we have is more than enough and more than capable to have huge ripple effects in all of the places that we're being called into all over the world. And it starts with this spoken word, the intention in our heart, and that huge vision that we have within us, that we have here, that is seeking to be fully expressed. And what we are seeking is also seeking us, knowing and believing and knowing that that is the truth, because it is.
Beautiful, Anna, just beautiful. And you're so right about integrating the First Nations and First Nations women at the moment, because women, regardless of their financial status globally, are tapping into the way that we are stepping into our feminine power right now, and how we are collaborating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for coming and holding the space for this vision and this project, because it is happening. It is so exciting. If you've been excited and stimulated and feel like whoa, then we have the Ripple Wealth Project. Exactly, you use the word ripple. The Ripple Wealth Project. Which at the moment it is got its in its humble beginnings in a Facebook group where you can reach myself and Dawn Grossart, my collaborator, and yourself, Anna, and join this conversation urgently. It's urgent for the world. And yes. Is there anything else that you'd like to add today to this beautiful conversation?
Just let's do it. Let's co-create this together. Every moment counts, and it can't come about without us. Our engagement is so vital right now, and it can't be underestimated just how important it is if we sense it within us and something has been sparked and something has been woken up within you in this conversation, to take action, to join the group, to connect with Jenni, to make some time to meet with me, to engage in conversation and allow the magic of connection, collaboration, learning, discovery take on a life of its own, because we're being called And I think hearing the call, but most importantly, taking action on that call is exactly what's needed. So I'm excited to connect with and meet and open into new possibilities with new fellow visionaries through this beautiful conversation. And I'm really, just really excited about what we're going to discover together.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for staying up late in Australia for your part that you're playing in this co-creation. And anybody listening to this, really don't delay. Just you can DM us as well. Just it's now. Don't put this on a to-do list that doesn't get done. It really is.
We don't have a call center. We don't have, we're not putting you to a team. We are the team. And that's what makes this so intimate and so powerful, is we're not delegating. We're igniting, and we're here, we're accessible, but we're not delegating. We're actually taking full radical ownership of every single conversation that is magnetized, to us through this. And it's such an honor. It is just such an honor to be here. So thank you for having me, and whoever is connected through this conversation. It's our time. It really is.
It's our time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.